Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
"5 years ago, my family and I moved from Orange County, Southern California to a conservative part of Oregon. It's like we landed on another planet where tattoos are alien markings and not wearing leggings is some kind of rebellion. I'm a 34-year-old mom with 2 kids, a 10-year-old son, and a 7-year-old daughter. My husband is 38, and we've been trying to fit in, but it hasn't been easy. The parents at the school bus stop stare at my style, hair, and tattoos like I'm some kind of sideshow. I've kept to myself, just getting my kids and leaving quickly. Our apartment complex is within eyesight of the bus stop. I've always walked my kids there regardless of the weather. I wanted to teach them not to be lazy and to embrace whatever Mother Nature throws our way. Most other parents drive even though it's close. Then there's the self-proclaimed neighborhood mom. I overheard her once announcing herself as the neighborhood mom to everyone, in case they needed anything. She drove her husband's enormous truck around like she owned the streets, revving the engine. But what bothered me was that she couldn't park it. It was the first in-person school year since COVID, and she would park that truck directly on the sidewalk by the corner where the bus stops. This forced everyone walking to go around her into the street, which was dangerous in bad weather. One snowy day, I finally said something. She and her friend were sitting in the truck with the windows down. I asked her if she could stop parking on the sidewalk because it was hard to get by. Her response was rude. She told me that she drove a big truck and I should just deal with it. I was caught off guard. Her friend tried rolling up the window, but before she could, I told her maybe she should learn how to drive it, then walked away. The next day it was raining, and there she was, blocking the sidewalk again. I called the non-emergency police line. They told me they would watch the corner during afternoon drop-off. That afternoon, a black Tesla marked police was parked nearby. Truck mom pulled up on the sidewalk, not seeing the officer. She had music blasting and kids jumping around inside. The officer walked up to her, talked briefly, and left. Later, I got a call from him. He told me he'd given her a ticket for driving with kids not properly belted and a warning about parking on the sidewalk. He told me to call him directly if she continued and to stay away from her because she was angry. I didn't see her until the following week, and she parked in the exact same spot. I called the officer's number, and he arrived within minutes, pulling up next to her truck. All the parents were staring, and I noticed her friend looking at me. I stared ahead, trying not to laugh while waiting for the bus. I've tried to mind my own business with these women. A couple of years went by, and one day, one of their sons walked up to my son. He told my son that his mom was a bad person. I never said anything about it, just used it as a lesson for my son about dealing with unkind people. I found out that truck mom had built up $800 in tickets. She stopped coming to the bus stop after the second run-in with police. She still lives in our complex, but now drives a gold Honda instead of that truck. I see her driving by mornings and afternoons, and she stares at me, though I'm not sure how she could know I had anything to do with it. This year, 2025, I've seen her at school events with a new man. I don't think her husband just took the truck away for a while. I think he left her and took his truck with him. I never reported her for driving with kids hanging out of the truck. I only called to see if police could watch the bus stop because people were parking on the sidewalk during bad weather. I didn't report her license plate or name anyone. The day she got ticketed, she pulled up with kids all over the truck, and the officer walked up to her on his own. She yelled at him, saying she does this all the time. The kids weren't even hers. She was doing carpool. She only came to the bus stop to pick up her own kids who rode the same bus as mine. I'm the last person who wants to cause trouble, but what else could I do? I'm a pretty anxious flyer, which is why I always book my flights well in advance to secure a window seat. Looking outside at the clouds helps calm my nerves during takeoff and landing. Plus, it gives me something to focus on instead of my racing thoughts. This flight was important to me. I was heading across the country for a job interview that could change my life. After being stuck in a dead-end position for 3 years, This opportunity felt like my ticket to freedom. The interview was early the next morning, so I needed to arrive relaxed and well rested. I had boarded the plane early, settled into my window seat, 32A, and was getting comfortable when I noticed a woman and her son, who looked about 7 or 8, hovering in the aisle next to my row. The woman asked if I would mind switching seats with her son. She explained that he had never flown before and wanted to see out the window. I said that I had booked this seat because I get anxious on flights and looking out the window helps me stay calm. Her tone changed as she argued that it was just one flight. She told me her son would be heartbroken and suggested that as an adult, I should be more accommodating. I said I had paid extra for this seat assignment and needed to stay where I was. Her face transformed from fake pleasantness to anger. She asked what kind of person would refuse a simple request from a child. Other passengers were starting to stare. I felt my anxiety building but stood my ground. I said the middle seat she was offering would make my flight uncomfortable. She said I was being ridiculous, and it was the same row, just a different seat. I said it wasn't the same to me and that I needed the window. The woman's son was standing there, looking embarrassed. He tugged at his mother's sleeve and said he could sit in the middle. She refused, telling him this situation was unacceptable and reminding him how much he wanted the window seat. She walked off to find a flight attendant, leaving her son standing in the aisle. A few minutes later, she returned with a flight attendant. The flight attendant asked what the problem was. The woman said I wouldn't let her son have the window seat. She added that her boy had never flown before and was excited to look out the window. The flight attendant looked at me and told the woman that passengers are assigned to the seats they've selected and paid for. She said she couldn't force anyone to move. The woman protested loudly, questioning the airline's policy on accommodating families and asking if they cared about children. The woman was causing such a scene that a man seated a few rows behind us stood up. He offered his window seat in row 34 to the woman's son. The woman pointed out that some people have common decency. The man switched seats with them, and I thought that was it. The woman and her son ended up directly behind me, and as soon as we took off, I felt a sharp kick to the back of my seat. Then another, and another. I turned around and asked her to stop kicking my seat. She asked if it was bothering me. She compared it to how I had bothered them by not giving up my window seat. The kicking continued throughout the flight. I asked her many times to stop and even called the flight attendant over, but the woman would pause when the attendant was there and resume as soon as she left. I asked her to stop kicking, saying I was trying to rest before an important meeting the next day. She said I should have thought about that before being selfish. By the time we landed, my back was sore and I was fuming. As passengers started to deplane, the flight attendant approached the woman. The flight attendant told the woman that the captain had requested she remain seated until all other passengers had deplaned. She said airport security wanted to speak with her. The woman asked why, saying she hadn't done anything wrong. The flight attendant said they had received multiple complaints about her behavior during the flight, and it was all documented. The woman exploded, saying it was discrimination and she was just standing up for her son. As the rest of us filed out, 2 airport police officers boarded the plane. I paused near the exit to gather my carry-on items and heard the confrontation getting worse. The woman said she wouldn't go anywhere with the officers, calling it harassment. She tried to push past the officers. One of them moved to block her way, and she swung her purse at him. Within seconds, she was being handcuffed while screaming about lawsuits and demanding to see their supervisors. Her son stood there as another flight attendant led him away from the scene. As I walked through the terminal, I heard other passengers talking about what happened. The woman had been disruptive even during boarding, demanding special treatment from multiple staff members. I made it to my hotel room, back aching, but the next morning I aced my interview. This happened last week and I'm still laughing about it. I'm 16 and in high school. I get decent grades and try to stay out of trouble. Our school uses smart passes that track how long you're out of class. The principal checks them and calls students out if they go over time. Our principal takes himself too seriously. He wears suits every day and walks around like he's better than everyone. He enforces every tiny rule just because he can. Most teachers are chill, but not him. My friend is a senior. We became friends during a school project last year. She's usually proper and follows rules, which makes what happened funnier. She's been having issues with our principal all year because she challenges his decisions in student council. Last Tuesday, we were both in the bathroom between classes. The second floor bathroom is where everyone goes to talk about teachers and catch up. I asked her what was wrong when her face changed. She told me she was on a smart pass earlier and went 8 minutes over. She worried the principal would call her out at the student council meeting that day. I laughed and suggested she tell him she fell in. She looked confused and asked what I meant. I explained she should say she fell into the toilet, and that's why she took so long. We laughed and went to class. I didn't think she'd actually do it. After school, we met at the bike racks. She was grinning. I asked what happened, noting she looked too happy for someone who just finished classes. She told me I wouldn't believe what she did at the meeting. I asked her to explain. She said the principal did exactly what she thought. Before they discussed anything important, he brought up her smart pass. I said of course he did. She described how he stood with his clipboard and said someone thought rules didn't apply to them. He pointed out she was 8 minutes over her bathroom time and asked why. I called him a jerk and asked what she said. She told me she looked at the floor and stuttered that she fell in. I asked if she really said that. She confirmed she did. The room went silent for seconds. Then half the council laughed while others looked horrified. I asked what the principal did. She said his face turned red. He stood there opening and closing his mouth and couldn't respond. I told her I couldn't believe it. She added that the vice principal started coughing, trying not to laugh. The principal mumbled about moving on and avoided looking at her for the rest of the meeting. The next day, things got better. Word spread around school. When I walked into homeroom, people high-fived my friend. The principal had been strict about smart pastimes with everyone, and people liked that someone stood up to him. Later that week, they announced a new 10-minute grace period for all smart passes to account for unforeseen circumstances. Everyone knew what caused the change. The principal still won't look at my friend in hallways. And my friend? She's a school legend now. I didn't expect my joke would lead to a school policy change. My friend gets don't fall in jokes, but she says seeing the principal's face was worth it. I'm glad someone finally stood up to him. One ridiculous comment exposed how absurd some rules are. While most 19-year-olds partied during college, I juggled classes, internships, and part-time jobs. My parents couldn't help with tuition, so I worked for scholarships and took out loans for the rest. I graduated with a business degree a semester early. Job hunting was tough. After 200 applications, I landed an entry-level position at a marketing firm. The pay is $42,000 a year, enough for a tiny studio apartment and starting to pay off student loans. For the first time, I felt independent. No more ramen for dinner every night, no more counting quarters for laundry. When I told my parents about the job, they seemed happy. Mom cried a little and told me she was proud. Dad called me his girl and mentioned me making big bucks now. I ignored the big bucks comment. We knew $42,000 wasn't much, but it was a start. I invited them to see my apartment once I got settled. They seemed impressed I could live on my own, even in such a small place. The first sign of trouble came 3 weeks into my job. I called home and Mom told me their internet had been cut off because they couldn't pay. She said things were hard with Dad's hours being cut and they were struggling. I felt bad. I knew they lived paycheck to paycheck but didn't know it was that bad. I asked about the bill amount and offered to help. She called me a good daughter and said it was $89.99. I sent the money right away. It felt good to help them after all they'd done for me. The next month, Dad called saying they needed groceries. I ordered them $150 worth of delivery. I was happy to help. Then it became a pattern. Every few days brought a new crisis: car repairs, medical bills, utility shutoffs. They'd call right after my payday, like clockwork. The real turning point came last week. During a work meeting, Mom called repeatedly. I stepped out to call back, worried something had happened. I asked if everyone was okay. She was sobbing, saying she couldn't believe I would do this to them. Confused, I asked what she meant. She said it was the 15th, my monthly support was due yesterday, and nothing was in their account. I was confused. Monthly support? This was news to me. I told her I didn't understand. She accused me of playing dumb and said we agreed I would help them with my good money. She reminded me they raised me for 18 years and asked if I knew how much that cost. I said I never agreed to monthly payments and had my own bills. She told me I wouldn't even have my job without them. They invested everything in me and now it was time to give back. The call ended with her crying and me feeling sick. An hour later, Dad texted a spreadsheet breaking down the cost of raising me. Food, $43,800. Clothing, $12,600. School supplies, $7,200. And emotional labor, $35,000. At the bottom was a repayment plan of $1,050 monthly for 5 years. I thought it was a joke. It wasn't. Dad said they were reasonable with the calculation and didn't include interest. I was speechless. The $1,050 was almost 40% of my take-home pay. After rent, student loans, and basics, I had $300 left monthly for savings. I told him I couldn't afford this just starting my adult life. He said they sacrificed everything for me and this was the minimum to show gratitude. I said I was grateful but didn't sign a contract to pay for being raised, as that's what parents do. He called me ungrateful and said Mom was crying again. For days I felt torn. Was I selfish? Did I owe them? I skipped lunches to save money, thinking maybe I could send something. Then my friend saw the spreadsheet. She told me this was financial abuse. They chose to have me. I didn't owe a refund for parenting. Something clicked. I called my parents. I told them I loved them and was thankful, but I couldn't be their retirement plan. I would help in emergencies when possible, but no monthly payments. Mom asked if this was how I repaid them. I explained raising me wasn't an investment but their choice and responsibility. Dad told me not to come to them when I needed something. I pointed out I hadn't asked for help and had supported myself through college, and now the call ended badly. They told family members I was selfish. My aunt lectured me about honoring parents, but I stood my ground. Last night, Mom texted they faced eviction and needed $2,000 immediately. Instead of sending money, I investigated. They had booked a cruise for next month. The eviction notice was made up. I confronted them. I told them I found their cruise booking and asked about the eviction. After a long silence, Dad said they deserved a vacation after everything. I said they deserved nice things but needed to pay for them themselves, not by manipulating me. I've blocked their numbers for now. I need space to figure out our future relationship. It hurts they see me as a return on investment. But I won't start adult life in financial servitude to people who should support me, not hold me back. Maybe someday we can rebuild, but it will be based on mutual respect, not a balance sheet. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.